Welcome to Season 2 of The Aggregate, narrative coatings from around the globe. It's a broadcast that hails a treasured community of designers, architects, artists, and builders from around our world who refuse to ration their plaster passion. Amid a world of static and chaotic emotions, the show honors victories won and lessons learned. It tells the true tales rarely depicted on social media. With a neutral mind, these connective moments provide hiatus from the everyday hustle and bustle and offer a platform to recharge with our attention focused on shared skills and time-honored knowledge, ultimately curating continued creativity in everyday life. So take a second breath as New Age Artisans coats the planet and changes the standards of what it means to educate, empower, and create. I'm your host, Jeremy Mistretta, along with my man on the switches, Vincent Ryan, and welcome to our show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Aggregate Season 2, Episode 20. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Miss Becky Little. Quite the treat to learn about her free-spirited ways and conglomeration of skills that she seems to have amassed and churned into a successful career of care. I can only hope that I'm as cool as she is in 10 years. We'll be hearing more from her in the future. I know it. Here at New Age Artisans proper, we're in a bit of a self-imposed holding pattern. We just finished another large-scale project. And like all large-scale projects, flurry of activity to get them done. We've been blasting coats of plaster on walls for months on end. Our bodies are tired. But most importantly, our minds are they're fatigued, they're fried. It's constant, and it won't stop. I know it, unfortunately. And fortunately, I guess. Hasn't for years, and for the first time in many, many moments, no one's calling with an urgent panic of, get to my project yesterday. It's a good feeling, because our shop could use a little organization, TLC. Tools could use a little extra polishing. I'm super excited, and I'm here for it, and I will happily invest a few days of silence and solitude as we work together to hone our home front and laugh as friends, colleagues amidst bucket stacking, scaffold cleaning, and the elusive tool inventory. Don't know where half this stuff goes. We'll enjoy the respite together as a team and know that next week we'll be right back underwater again. Right back at it. Nice and stressed. It's feast or famine, and that's the way we roll. No rest for the wicked. In the creative front, we're doing well, watching a healthy number of orders go out the door domestically, and have solid traction on many forthcoming projects that are speccing our blends. Feels really good. We pour our heart and soul into every bag we blend. I wouldn't have it any other way. Many, many manufacturers send their formulas to contract manufacturing facilities. And from where I sit today, I don't believe that these companies have their hands on the pulse of what's going out the door. It's easy to judge and be omniscient, yet as we tread into our second year of productivity, I guess I can say that I don't really blame them for a host of reasons that you'll likely hear about in the next hour or so. And I would guess that today's guest, Mr. Croft Elsaesser from American Clay Enterprises, wouldn't blame these companies either, after he's earned 10 times the experience we have. How are you doing today, Croft?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What have you been up to so far?
In just the day or the year?
The day.
Well, today we actually were processing a couple of custom colors and confirming formulas and doing all kinds of things. Colors seem to be the issue of the year that we're going to be dealing with because of changes in the world around pigments. But that's for another conversation, I think, or later today.
Later today, we'll see where the wind blows us. For the listeners out there, Croft and I, we go back. Way back, actually. In fact, I'd like to credit the inception of my plastering success to him and his company. I'll just be honest, I was lost, very lost at the age of 24. unsatisfied with a career in painting and wondering how and what I'd be doing for the rest of my life. Kind of scary. I wandered aimlessly searching for something that spoke to me. And I remember one day picking up a pamphlet at a new sustainable building center in town called Refuge. It was a newer store equipped with a display freshly made up in the corner next to low VOC paints, cork floors, paper stone countertops. And this display really drew me in. But the pamphlet, that was something, it was altogether different. I hadn't seen it before. The front was graced with beautiful image that's crystally burned into my memory. A perfectly patinaed metal ceiling with gracefully aged timbers that seemed to grow organically out of these staggeringly beautiful natural plaster walls. I remember the light. It was stunning. Color, as I came to find out, was called chocolate. It was so rich. The finish, Loma, was steeped in a perfect union of large and small aggregate. Character and power jumped from the page and just took over. I loved the image so much, and it was exactly what I needed at that point in my life. Deep in the throes of what I like to think of as my quarter-life crisis, I decided that I was going to make my living room look just like that. I found some rusty metal panels on a job site, scrapped together some reclaimed 2x6 timbers, and bought some plaster from Refuge. Then I picked up the phone and called American Clay for instruction. And the rest, as you guys will find out, is what I like to call history. So thank you, Croft. I definitely would not be here today if it was not for you. American Clay 100% changed my life. I've been fortunate enough to know a lot about you and your family business, but there's a few things about you personally that are a little unclear, and I'm embarrassed to say, I don't even know. Are you originally from Albuquerque?
I'm actually not. I was born in Denver, Colorado, and lived there with my dad. My mom, on the other hand, saved her divorce when I was pretty young. Lived in Santa Fe, Cerrillos, really, which is between Albuquerque and Santa Fe, kind of. But anyway, so I had visited New Mexico many times, visiting my mom and going back and forth. But then when I was 7, my dad picked up and moved us to Florida, of all places. So my high school and, teenage years were all in Florida, still coming back to visit my mom. The typical arrangements, every other holiday, stuff like that, every other summer. But, so I went back and forth, between the two drastically different areas.
Yeah. That might on multiple spectrums. I'm just thinking about the climate right now, like one hot, just damp and humid, and the other one just hot and dry.
That's funny because growing up, everyone's like, or when I come out, they're like, how do you deal with the humidity? And I was like, it was what was so. There wasn't anything to deal with. You didn't, it wasn't anything to question. That's where you lived. That's what it was like.
If you've got nothing to compare it to. I mean, I guess I noticed that too. Like when I grew up in Connecticut and then I got to Montana, it was so dry here. Oh, I guess I never really even thought that it was humid there. It just.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just my existence. But now I go back there, I get off the plane, I'm like, oh, whoa. Clothes stuck to me. Yeah. When you were going back and forth between these two locations and climates, like what sort of fun things did you do?
Oh, let's see. What did I enjoy doing? I guess what's great is because they were so diverse as far as things to do. Being in Florida, right off the bat, beach, fishing, in the water all the time.
Yeah.
In the sun, just doing things outside. In New Mexico, same thing. Outside all the time, but completely different. Going to the mountains, going hikes, going camping. I think fondest memories are the differences in camping between Florida camping and mountain camping, right? One is campground slots, pitch the big tents. All of them have electricity because you definitely wanted a fan going when you're laying in a tent in the middle of the summer, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever it was when you went to bed. And New Mexico, I think more people relate to that kind of camping where you're, smaller tents, just pitch tents or outside and all that stuff. So lots of diverse things.
Yeah.
Snorkeling's even today, if I'm near the water, I love being in it. I get so much grief from my wife about being in the water, the last one out of the water. You'd think I was 2 or 4 or whatever, rather than 52.
Kid at heart.
But, love that. Love being outside.
Yeah. What about, being in, split households? Where did you go to high school?
In Florida.
Yeah.
In Florida. Martin County High School, Stuart, Florida. My high school alma mater.
What was your mascot? You guys like the alligators or something cool?
The Tigers. No, Martin County High School Tigers.
Dude, I was a Tiger too. Daniel Han High School. The Tigers.
Good mascot. That's totally different, I'm sure.
Did you guys have the Eye of the Tiger? Was that your song?
You mean at the time as a song? Sure.
Yeah. Rising up to the challenge of our rivals.
That's it.
Last known survivor. Yeah. I could go forever on that. I don't know how I know all the words, but I do.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
So, straight out of high school, I actually, went into the Navy and was a machinist mate on an aircraft carrier for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And, after that, I actually moved west and moved to New Mexico and went to University of New Mexico here in Albuquerque. So very, lots of experiences in between high school and college. And I think the most interesting thing that people are most surprised about is I actually never graduated from college.
What?
Yeah. I left and it was kind of interesting because it was, I was at the time working for a furniture company of all things while I was going to school. So I was going to school in Albuquerque, but working an hour away in Santa Fe, 3 days a week. Because growing up, my dad's a contractor and a finish carpenter. And so he would always be doing side jobs or doing jobs and building things was always of interest to me. So at that point, I was really interested in sort of learning the trade of cabinet making. And I worked for a very unique company called Morelli Furniture up in Santa Fe. They were a bit more of an old world furniture shop, lots of heavy furniture, lots of carving. The gentleman, Jeremy Morelli, was quite a genius when it came to carving designs, and he had some great carvers. And that's, at one point he came to me and said, look, I either need you here full time or you need to go find another job, cause I can't keep giving you part time. So it was a bit of a choice, but that was 2 years into school. I had some other jobs before that, but that was kind of a deciding moment that transitioned me into the world of finishes.
Got it. Yeah. I didn't know about the college thing, but the first interaction I had with you, I remember you telling me about, some of the tables that you would work on and put the finishes on.
Oh yeah.
And that was
they were crazy.
That was it was probably like 18 years ago, the first time I met you, and you were telling me about the finishes, but paint a picture, no pun intended, of what exactly it was that you were doing.
So when we first started, which was really great, we did a lot of old world style, finishes. So shellacs, people may know of the French polish where you're using shellac and a lot of rubbing and some oil and bringing it to a fine sheen. We were using, varnishes and all kinds of things. One of the more unique things was what we came to call a wax patina or a pigmented wax finish. And, it was just basically a paste wax and powdered pigments that you'd work into it and fold it into the wax and create these great colors. And so examples would be, one of my most memorable was one called the headdress bed. And it was literally this carved, if you think of the feathers fanning out behind you, all different colors of all these feathers, and we would hand patina each of the colors, and it was a sort of a South American style of headdress. So it was like, macaw colors and all these vibrance, and it was something else. Doors, in Santa Fe, there's a great hotel, and I was actually recently stopped by just to see how the finishes are going, into the Anasazi. And so there's a whole line of doors that Morelli created that was called the Anasazi style. And it looks like these incredible Anasazi style rugs that are carved in the doors. It was, another time, but, that experience with the more natural finishes was, pretty foundational learning experience that transitioned at some point into liking the more natural finishes. Because as the company grew, we did break away and do more modern finishes, I will say, like nitrocellulose lacquers and all kinds of other things that made things, more production wise, economical,
Yeah.
but it was definitely a transition for us as applicators.
Yeah. Especially like, you had your hands immersed in all these, natural things. And then next thing you know, you got it blasting out production.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just different. It was our challenge to make it the overall feel, the same, but, at the time, at 23, 24, I didn't care. That was that was before the concerns of the world around me. I was impervious to any of the things that could go wrong. That was, something to look back on, but it really did lead to some changes, over time, but it also laid a foundation for how I approach things, what I started to really love to do, which was decorative and, artistic things.
Yeah. When was the first time, like, you made, I mean, the story that I remember from you years and years ago was, you're working with these materials, you're working. And I remember like I have this kind of vision of like a table for some reason that like you were working on. And I remember hearing a story about like these like 10 different coats that you put on there of like different lacquers and shellacs to make it look like so old and just like aged with this like wild amount of dignity. And then at least the story that I conjured in my head.
Elaboration.
Yeah. But keep in mind, like I was 20 something years old when I was hearing these stories. So I had these like illusions of grandeur in my head. It's like what it was. And I just remember like in my head, at least, like you were like, I'm done. We're done here. And you transitioned into the world of natural finishes.
I'll say back to. That was a few years later. That was, there's obviously a period to there, like I was saying. So, after I had left, Morelli Furniture really, and started on my own, a lot of those techniques carried forward with me, which was, multiple layers, really looking at my focus was, antiquing, sort of the kitschy thing, but really making it look like it was really old, not what I would call the kitsch of the time, but how do you make it look genuine?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really focused on. So through that time though, I was using all those same techniques, the chemicals, turnover, whatever was required of the finish up until, like 1998, 1997, somewhere in there. Cause at the time, so I lots of transitions throughout the time. So got married, moved to Phoenix, because a lot of my customers were actually from Phoenix, and they would literally ship me their cabinets to finish them here in New Mexico, and then we'd ship them back. I was like, this is, I mean, I know they can, but this is crazy. So moved to Phoenix, and my wife had just graduated. We got married. She, is a teacher, an elementary school teacher, and got her first position in Phoenix. And so we moved there and started up a finishing department there, and you know, did all kinds of fun stuff throughout the ages. But then as things progressed, I started doing more and more. So it wasn't just furniture. Then it became walls, and the walls became more. And, you know, getting finishes to work under certain conditions, and then, you know, respraying an entire house, which I wasn't a painter, like an interior painter or somebody who did just the general works. But I remember the real transition back to natural was doing a house that we had to completely rebase and redo an initial coat on before we were doing our glaze work. I remember sort of getting in the car and driving home and not really remembering, like, it was like I'd had a couple beers.
Yeah.
And probably shouldn't have been driving, right? And parked and thought, I'm feeling a little woozy. Like, this is crazy. And I didn't think at that point, you know, water-based was the healthy stuff. And then that led to an inquiry that had me start to understand, like, at that time, water-based, just transitioning to a water-based finish was healthier. But then you found out that many of the secondary items in those finishes are what's known as transdermal. So you'd absorb it through your skin. Which if you were using oil-based, you'd use like protective clothing. You might wear a respirator. You'd have your gloves on, but it was just water-based. So I was just wearing a dust mask and, you know, not much else. But everything that was on you was just going into the skin and going in your bloodstream and making things not so healthy. And so
silent killer.
Yeah, exactly. Not, you know, it just was a transition back to inquiring about what could we be doing, you know, what could be more natural. And, that started a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. In the can of worms, what could be more natural is plaster.
The stuff they live in.
The stuff they live in. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's lots of other threads that lead to sort of why was it that plaster became a focus, but it was all a journey.
Yeah. Well, journeys, as we have all these guests on all the time. I mean, the guest just the other day, like Becky Little from Scotland. I mean, she was an archaeologist, and then she was an architect, and then a natural builder. And now she's just like, we called it a woven life, because she was just kind of like moving and shaking, ebbing and flowing with, you know, where the universe was pulling her. And she kind of stitched together this life about it. And, you know, everyone that's got these avenues, man, I've got 10,000 avenues. I don't even bore everybody with my avenues, but it's just like so many of them lead us to these situations. And then, like, what do you do with the situation once it's right in front of you? That's kind of the big thing.
Some people do nothing. Other people just hound on it and, you know, follow the calling, I guess.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad.
You followed the hell out of your calling, which is awesome. And you had a whole bunch of other people follow along in the journey with you, which is sweet. But the initial calling, I mean, putting plaster on a wall, like,
where did that come from?
Yeah, where did that come from? And then, like, how were you able to figure out your, you know, the composition of what you were going to do?
So that was more of like getting into the plaster side. That was by accident. So within my business, I had come across lots of other artisans, and we always called ourselves artisans more so than painters, because within our businesses we did was much more than just painting out a house. We actually would do specialty things. We do furniture. We do all kinds of things. So this other gentleman, his name was Mitchell John, who was a foundation of support for myself, my family, everyone. And he came to me one day, cause he was working on a project, and he's like, so I know you and your brother, have done some kind of trowel work, plastering stuff with, I don't know, what do you call it? Cement, stucco, mortar, something like that. And these are coming from him. And I said, yeah, but I don't know that I would call myself a plasterer. What do you need help with? He's like, well, I've got this material that, it's coming from Europe, and I want to do it for a customer, but I don't really know what I need to do. And I was like, well, I don't know if I really know what I need to do too, but I have at least more of an idea than you do, I think. Yeah. So we mixed up this stuff and we played around with it. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Where's it coming from? He's like, well, I think it's coming from Africa. I was like, well, why are we bringing dirt from Africa? And why is it coming over? There's a lot of, there's irony to what I'm saying now, because that's kind of what's happening now. But anyway, so it was kind of an accident. It was to help out another applicator to have some fun in another project. And then, my mom just happened to visit. So who was also one of the founders. She sort of, her background is she has a fine arts degree in ceramics. And, so I started inquiring about different clays, and I said, what would it take, do you think, to make this stuff? Cause I want something that is easier for me to use and is more consistent, because what happened was we did a sample for Mitchell's customers and they loved it. But when we got the product, it was orange. It wasn't this great rusty deep red. Mm-hmm. And luckily the customer wasn't attached to an exact color. So it ended up working out just fine. But there are many times, especially within the marketplace we were in, where that would not have been acceptable at all. Even a subtle change is kiss of death, which we've all experienced, right? So that led to the search, or the inquiry about what would it take for me to make something for us to put on in our business, like for me to use. And we started different mixes and playing around in my garage and spreading them on boards and watching them crumble and fall off. And
try again. That was you and like Shaler and Nico.
That was, so at that point, that was just me. That was that was me in Phoenix. And that was sort of the start of it, because I was, like I said, looking for something for me to use. It wasn't at all sort of the idea of what would it take to start this company and manufacture anything. This was just for me to put up, because what I liked about it was texture, color, and the tactile surface all in one, without having to do, the joint compound build out, the sanding, the priming, the base, the redos, the color coats, all of that. It was all at one, and a plus, it was much better for the applicator to use and to play around with. And it had, a forgiving aspect to it, compared to what I had worked with Shaler and Nico, which was cement, Portland, stuccos, or gypsums, which were way outside of my skill set at the time, and nothing I wanted to even mess with. Mm-hmm. So that led to me coming up with something to use, doing my, I was working on a remodel of my house in Phoenix at the time. And me making up this mixture that went onto the brick wall, slowly building it out and bringing it flush, and just loving how it looked. And so finally settled in on what seemed like a usable formula. And, that was in 98 when that occurred, as far as like the initial, hey, this is pretty awesome. mixing it up, getting different types of clays, knowing what they were used for clay bodies. But I think the hardest thing was coming up with a formula that at what would be known as its green strength, it's just air dried qualities, would be adequate to be utilized in a plaster. Because if you just use it the way it might be formulated for ceramics, which is where my mom gave me a bunch of ideas for, this would be something you might try, because this is what they would do for a porcelain or for a earthenware or a stoneware, and trying to get rid of the shrinkage and trying to make it spreadable and trying to make it consistent. And so those were all of the inquiries and playing around with it. And I think what it always came down to was, throughout my time as a finisher, I was always good at knowing what the instructions were or the limitations were, but never satisfied enough to just do that, and always played around with making my own glazes, making my own colors, making my own, surface coatings from existing materials on the marketplace by combining certain things or messing around with certain things. And, I just thought everyone did that as I went along. That is not what everyone does. We were a unique crew that was going around Phoenix messing things up.
Yeah. Yeah. Early cowboy vigilantes in the finishing world.
The vigilantes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that led to the vigilante approach to the clay plaster aspects, looking at how do we make this work? How do we make it happen? And, that led to, some more ideas as to what we might try. And that then led to us doing, my mom and her husband's house at the time, up in Santa Fe, and trying it for the first time, not really as a quote unquote paying customer, but more as a experimental application. And I laugh now because everything was brought in full retail. We didn't really have the right sands that we were going to use. So we ended up using, ceramics grog, which is calcine's crushed clay instead of sand, because we wanted like a sharp quality to it. And it took us 2 months to do 2,000 square feet, which, as you know, that's horrendously slow.
Yeah, that's not going to pencil out.
It was ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun. And that's when my mom said, this is bigger than you. I don't know what you're doing. This is bigger than just your company.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm reading this book right now called, Who, Not What. And those are like the questions that you need to ask yourself. Like when things become bigger than you, what do you do with it? Who do you find to, take the place? Because you're just going to just sit there stuck in the mud, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Not being able to move forward unless you get the right people in the right seats. It's a good one. We'll put that book in the show notes for sure.
Excellent.
How many WD-40, water dispersion formula number 40? How many formulas did you come through at ACE?
40, 50.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't like one and go. It wasn't definitely not a one and go. It was definitely, and when I was doing my house, the first go wasn't quite right. So there was a change in the middle of it. So it was, give and take, try this, try that. Like I said, that one cracked and fell off. That one there's no way anybody's going to be able to spread this one. The color quality of this one is awful. So how are we going to get to the colors that we want? Because color was important, to me, because prior to that point, that's what I did, right? Making my own colors, mixing my own glazes to get to a certain point. The expertise in how do you get somewhere? I think there's back when I was at Morelli, there was a painter who was on a project, and he was asking me, how do you get to these great wood tones? And I was like, it's simple. You just use these 3 primary colors. You can choose from raw umber, raw sienna, burnt sienna, and Van Dyke brown. And that's it. He's like, what do you mean that's it? Those are the only like values you use? I'm like, that's it. Those are all natural wood tones. Just play around with them. And he came back to me later. He said, that was the funniest thing, because ever since that, I've never forgotten that. And it's so true. I bumped into him probably 5 years ago. And he said, you told me that one time. And I thought, how does this kid know that secret? And he's only been around a few years, and I've been doing painting for 30 years, and nobody's ever told me that.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Teach an old dog new tricks. I like it. Mm-hmm. I think that I think of you and a little tidbit of information you taught me years and years ago. About once a week, I utilize the technique. And you talked about it earlier.
Really?
It's tinting the wax a certain color. To have, if you have like a little blemish in the plaster or something, and you can just basically match it. And what we've got going now is like, do really like this, a little spectrometer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we'll get, click the spectrometer. It'll be like, oh, it's Sherwin-Williams Ballet White. Okay, that's the closest to this color. So then we'll go to the paint store. We'll get Ballet White paint, and we'll just do like the smallest little drops of Ballet White, the actual color, not the pigment, the actual paint, smallest drops in the wax, and then kind of do like a small little faux effect over the top. And we have taken repairs that have been like horrendous, like job-ending repairs, and fixed it with that. And people said, how did you know that? You're a genius. I'm like, I'm not a genius. I promise you. I have 1,000 people that will tell you that's not true. But I know people that are. You're one of them. So I think about it all the time. So
awesome. Well, thank you. It's always funny because I think of it as just general knowledge.
Yeah.
So many times. And have you ever heard of like a lollipop moment?
No, do tell.
Just, something as simple as a lollipop that's going to be life changing.
Yeah.
Right. And so what might seem like a lollipop to one person is life changing to somebody else. So always share what's available, because you never know what's going to be their lollipop moment.
It's epic. It's how I live my life most of the time. It's gotten me, a couple lollipop moments have gotten me in a little bit of trouble from time to time. But
those aren't the ones to claim as lollipop moments. Those are lapses of concentration.
Yeah. That's that's the lollipop's been crushed. That was a bad one. It was left in the sun. It's melted.
There you go. The ants got all of that one.
There you go.
So thank you. That's one of those lollipop moments. Yeah.
But you were doing all this. You were doing all the plaster techniques. What made you, I mean, I know what happened to me, but like what made you, the guy that, was the king of contracting, putting all of this plaster up, why did you decide to move out of contracting and into manufacturing? What was the catalyst there?
I just want to make less money. So what it was more of, it was really my mom saying, this is bigger than you. And she really wanted to transition into a company that was making and selling it. And I think a lot of that came from her background, because my grandfather, her dad, whom had passed away before, I never knew him, but he had started and owned a company himself. And that was kind of a family connection moment for her. Like, wow, we could build this bigger and make a company and have a company for us.
Sure.
And so that's really what it was.
So we're blaming Carol for this.
Absolutely. And however, at the same time, so there's when you're looking at it fresh, brand new, there's a lot of excitement around, golly, this is it's a huge opportunity. It's going to get so big so fast. It will all be set. laying out, looking at what we see what the potential market is. We're laying out a business plan. We went to the first Greenbelt in Austin in 2002. There's all this excitement. We were so excited.
So you guys won the award, right? Like product of the year.
Yes. And a lot of that we did at that. And I think it was exciting because we went to Greenbuild expecting all these natural and healthy, and quickly found out the green building movement was more about energy efficiencies regardless of what materials are being used, at the time. And so it was Saint Astier and us that were the only two that actually had a natural material on site. And I put so much effort into making sure that panels were we used wood and cardboard. Believe it or not, all the panels were put on, all the clay was put on cardboard seats that were reinforced by a wood frame. And, people were amazed that it even worked. And as a matter of fact, I still have one of the panels in our back warehouse from that first display.
Oh, wow.
Still on cardboard, still on wood frame, nothing else to it. It has seen better days, of course.
Yeah. But
24 years later,
22 years later,
almost 23 years later, really.
Yeah. I've been to a couple conferences with some folks in Europe that are part of Saint Astier legacy. And next time I see them, I'm like, do you have pieces of cardboard? Still. Yeah. Little friendly
Good
banter.
question.
Yeah.
I don't know that they would be so attached to that, one of their first panels like I am.
Yeah.
They're a little older than I am. As a company, they are much older, but they might have, they might have panels that are older, not on cardboard though. Not on cardboard. I'd be super surprised.
Let's take a quick break, and then upon return, I can already feel this amping up. Like shit's about to get real in this conversation. I'm excited. Take a break.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
The secrets of plaster. So many recipes, techniques, and applications. Its diverse definitions and coveted concoctions have confused many a modern applicator. And thanks to the possessive powers of the internet, there's even more information that mystifies the waters of comprehension. Enchanted by Google Images, hungry homeowners, architects, applicators, and designers search the tangled web, patching together some sense of structure to create textured walls, polish elements, abstract art, and relief pieces. What if the journey to success wasn't so challenging? What if all the inspiring information was integrated onto one canvas? Your wait is over. We are collecting years of practice, technique, and art into one hub, the Plaster Portal. With our streamlined system and contemporary interface, the portal protects these processes and offers applicators around the planet the opportunity of discovery, directly from the masters who preserve them. And we'd like you to be part of this communal movement. So become a member today. With affordable fee of just $75, you'll become a baseline member, which provides purchasing access to new age artisan plaster blends, as well as hand-picked content full of tips, tricks, and time-saving strategies that you can't get anywhere else. You also acquire access to our Prominent Artist Series courses, celebrating both specialty plaster finishes and industry professionals from around the world who are proud to share their time-tested practices. With the strength of our membership, we can encourage the celebration of these trades, discover new and valuable skills, and conserve the arts. Head to newageartisans.com and click the Plaster Portal link. Sign up is fast and easy. We can't wait to have you as part of our community. Before we get back to the show, here's a guest from Season 1 with a quick hello.
Hey, this is Heath England with Sustain Interiors in Hood River, Oregon, and you are listening to The Aggregate.
All righty. We are back with Croft, Mr. Heath England, Hood River, Oregon. Sustain Interiors, an old friend of mine and Croft's. And I talked to Heath about well, God, I don't know, at least once a month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month about, war stories and whatnot, or passing off ideas. And I love talking to Heath, and he's a hard guy to pin down at times when you need something like a voiceover. And when I told him where this voiceover was going for Croft, it was done within 15 seconds. That's how much Heath loves you, Croft. It was thrilled to do it. I mean, it was just like boom, boom, done. So thank you, Heath.
Thank you, Heath.
Yes. Yeah. We were talking before the break about all of the arcs that led up to the creation of American Clay and the clay plaster. And we've boiled it down to thank you, Carol. We appreciate it. Love you and miss you, by the way. What was day one like at American Clay? Like, you guys are a business.
Which day one?
Well,
because
day
I
one,
think there have been many day ones.
day one. Go to day one in the garage.
So we'll say day one from the first order, which was on a piece of yellow legal notepad, which is now framed, and sits there, was for a past customer of mine who I convinced he needed to do his new house in California with this new product that he was going to love, because he's actually been a good friend, a strong influence for a very long time. And the first order, written on a piece of legal notepad in blue ink, which is framed and hanging on my walls, that led to me leaving Shaler and Nico, my 2 brothers here, to batch manufacture buckets out on their dad's land in Galisteo, New Mexico. So you don't know it, you have to look it up, because it's not any place you'd think you should be making anything or getting a truck to deliver anything from.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Desolate. Doesn't even come close to describing it.
I wouldn't say desolate. I would say remote.
Bumpy approach.
Yeah. And so they were weighing out each bucket based on the formula, batching it between buckets, and then pounding lids on and adding it to a pallet and stacking it. And then I was on my way to California and getting this customer's walls prepped for it when it arrived. And then Nico joined me out there and we did his house. So day one was just another day of application.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as day one, once we actually started a facility, it was in Santa Fe in a, one of those industrial strips, metal buildings with multiple units off of Agua Fria. And we walked in and said, this is the place. And that was sort of the official start of American Clay as we know it today.
This is giving me like Breaking Bad vibes here. Strip mall guys making powder. I like it.
Not quite a strip mall, but you know which one you mean. You'll have a mechanic one place, you'll have a cabinet shop, another one of the units you'll have, in our case, a clay manufacturing facility. There's an office in the middle, and there's 2 bays that go in a U around the office.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first, I would say, really official business
industrial park, I would call it.
Industrial park. Thank you. Industrial park kind of situation.
Yeah.
And that was the initial start, before we moved down to Albuquerque. That was the humble, cement mixer
mm-hmm.
that everyone knows of that we would use to blend. So, we went from 114 units that took 4 days to being able to do 114 units in a day. And somebody who's making their own plaster now, that's not very much, at all, turnaround wise. And, that's what it was, and we still use that same tumble cement mixer when we do custom small batches for walk-ins or something like that.
Yeah. That's what we use as well. We just happen to have 5 of them. We just happen to have 5 of them going. It's like full on, like it's as nuts and bolts as it can get on our production line.
You know?
And it just works. And we can just we can just pump the product. There's very few moving parts. Like there's very few things that can go wrong.
Each tumble mixer is probably a bag, maybe 2 bags. So the likelihood that you don't get the right ratios of aggregates to binder is extremely low.
Extremely low.
All the controls are right there.
They're right there.
There's no chance for...
And we know immediately, if the bag doesn't weigh. Oh. Like something's wrong. Something's wrong. And then we'll take it and we'll move those bags to the side. And then those will be, forensics. Get Sherlock Holmes out later to figure it out.
What are you talking about? Forensic stuff. There's no reverse engineering that.
Yeah. I'm like, what is
kid
this?
Me about that.
Yeah. I forgot who I was talking to. Yeah.
There's no going backwards to figure it out unless somebody knows what they forgot.
Yeah, knows what they forgot, or like potentially the wrong size aggregate was maybe placed inside, so it weighed a little bit heavier. But,
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's not what you're going to send to a customer.
Oh,
right?
God, no. No. But if we can isolate that, like, and when I say isolate it, I mean, like, I tell the guys in the production facility, I'm like, you make damn sure, like, you make goddamn sure that everything in there is perfect. So there have been a couple saviors where we've like, oh, this is, a 20 mesh aggregate that somehow got in here. And so we'll just go ahead and we'll just drop it through a 30 mesh screen and screen the whole thing. And it's like, boom, perfect. So there's been that, but like very few and far between. Yeah.
There's too many. That gets into quality assurance versus quality control.
Exactly.
So for my definition, quality assurance is you have as many controls implemented before the product ever leaves to make sure something doesn't happen. Because once you're in quality control, you're already trying to figure out what happened.
Oh, it's a mess.
That went wrong, and it's all in the customer's hands, and that's the worst thing to be in as much as possible. It's not. I don't want to say it's unavoidable, but we've always had what I would call a high quality assurance. And when we find something and we're doing quality control, then we know something else has to be added so that something else can't go out wrong.
I mean, there's a few companies that I've seen, like I've been patient zero a few times, where like the material shows up and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden you'll start hearing about it. It's like when COVID first hit, it's like, we got a case in California. There's another case in New York City. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, these guys have a problem. Right. Pallets have gone out everywhere. Man, damage control across the board.
Absolutely. And that's where we catch ourselves too, is we might get a call. And it's, the customer might say it was clearly an issue on your end. And we're like, we haven't had a single other call. We need to figure out what the source of the issue is. I'm happy to work through it with you. But I'm not clear how out of our batch, how you're the only one, because all that entire batch is gone. You're the only one that's calling with an issue. If I got 5 calls, then for sure, we've got an issue and we're trying to troubleshoot it, but you're the first.
You're the first.
And as you know, if there's an issue, they're going to call. They don't keep it quiet. It's not a surprise. It is,
ticker tape parade. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Ticker tape parade.
Yeah. Yeah. How many?
So you were asking like where we started, like where was day one? What was day one like? Day one was like a surprise. Like the first facility, it was excitement. It was, this is awesome. I can't believe we're here. That's the feelings. That's the experience I remember the most. Yeah.
How did you, like, after day one? I mean, I had my hands on it the first time. I think it was like 2005, I think was the first time I touched it. Yeah. When did, late 2004, first time. Like, how many employees did you have at that time? And then how were you guys able to market?
So, like I said, the first thing we did is we went to that green build in Austin, and that was, and we put together and made samples. We printed an initial brochure. It was really go out and get in front of people. We made those samples, the 3x3s, and put them in a box, and it was all whatever we could put together, and get in front of people back in the day. And that was easy because we had 8 colors. We didn't have 224 like we do now. It was 8 colors. Sample box was easy. The brochures, we weren't worried about miscolor prints. We just wanted to get in front of people. And we went to designers. We went to, we waited for callbacks from that Greenbuild show. We were doing applications ourselves, just to get it in front of builders. We did the local builder show here in Albuquerque, whatever we could. That was back when there was at least more of a return when you did a trade show. That was it. Hitting the pavement, right? That was
canvassing, grooming the industry, so to speak.
Yeah, because it was at that time definitely little known. Sad to say, it still is little known as far as the material, but plaster is more known today. It's a buzzword again.
Yeah, plaster's
after 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Someone said plaster's having a moment. Michael, plaster's having moments right now. I mean, this isn't just a 1 or 2 year thing over the past several years. It's really kind of chugging into something pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who were I was one of the customers, but some of your early customers, who, you don't have to say their names per se, but who were they as people?
I'll back up a second. So you would ask how big of a group we were. So at the time when we first started, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, then 6 of us.
Mm-hmm.
When I mentioned that we moved to Albuquerque at some point, and we moved facilities because it had more of a manufacturing environment down in Albuquerque, more so than Santa Fe. And when we did that move, we had planned on doing this huge training. I don't believe you were at that one. If you were, you would remember.
No,
because
I think
there were 32 people.
Yeah, no, I think I was more okay, I know the one you're talking about. I was not there. It was that was the one that went down in history. Everyone's like, oh, you should have been here yesterday kind of thing. No, I was not there at that one. It's yes, I know that one.
Not to make you, the stepchild or anything that.
Yeah.
But there's so many people. I don't remember everyone that was there. It was a type of training that I would never do again because it was just brutal. But and I have no problem mentioning. So Orit Yanai was this applicator, crazy person. I love her to death, who was a illustrator. She was a trained illustrator and wanted to be work at, any of the major illustration movie firms.
Yep.
At the time. And I don't remember how she came across our material, but she asked to come out and just be with us for a couple of days.
Yeah.
That was her one request. And that was still in Santa Fe. And we were still playing around with different finishes and playing around with different things. And she got to just go around with us and helped us on this builder's office. And we were doing chocolate with a wax finish on top of it. And when it was done, it looked just like we had stretched leather across the walls. It was just phenomenal. And that's how she got hooked. So that was in 2003, actually. So we had just opened over there. So she's been, one of the beginning. I think what was really great is she wasn't a plasterer. The next person that pops in mind was our distributor in Colorado Springs, Deb Hall.
Oh yeah, Hall's Walls.
All's walls.
Yeah.
Yep. And Deb and Herman, she is a PhD microbiologist, unbelievably smart. Never really done anything with plaster, but she fell in love with the material and took it on and started an entire business based on it. Heath England up in the Northwest. Thanks, Heath. He got a hold of it, I want to say about the same time as you, maybe a little bit earlier, but
Yeah.
he was, this drywall dude, this blow and go drywall guy, contractor. Let me think. I keep going on, as far as people that were there from the beginning. Scott
Yeah.
Nelson in LA, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was at that 32 person training and just had a blast doing some freehand drawing. He was much more of an artist than a lot of the other people. I think what was really unique was we didn't get a lot of plasterers at the start. The people that were more interested were those that wanted something different, something new, something natural, and could get behind and use themselves without that kind of experience and could learn it.
Yeah.
AKA you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I'd have to ask you, right? Like you didn't come in going, okay, I've been plastering for 15 years. You came in going, I don't know how to do a single piece of this stuff. What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do? Exactly. Yeah, I was like so impressionable. And like I had like done a little bit of gypsum before.
Yeah.
And kind of figured it out and had some success. But then like I very quickly learned like I'm not going to be running gypsum walls at scale. Like this is just not going to work as a one-man show. And then the clay kind of fell into my lap. And that's how I was like aware of plaster already from seeing the photo and, that photo that just drew me in. So I was just like very taken. I'm like, this is accessible. This is something I can do. This could cure my quarter life crisis. I'm in. So I was just like, I was all in on it,
It was all downhill from there.
It was all downhill from there. Yeah. Muddy hands and everything. And it was just, it was this catalyst for me and everybody. And there was like this movement around it. Like if you look back on it, like that movement, you heard Pete Dandelos and I talking the other day about like the group that was there at that Tadillac training. And it was like, I hate to say the name normal. I don't want to say normal, but like it was not like your normal crew. It was like the Sandlot, like the ragtag crew of people that were all there, like ready to plaster.
It was a great training. That was a hard training. That was 2 weeks of brutal work, and it was so cold.
Yeah. Remember Patrick Allard? I remember he had his long johns on with his shorts on over the top of them.
Yeah.
I remember that. He was plastering with gloves.
And Scott Nelson, I thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
Because it was way outside of his realm of what was comfortable.
Mr. California. Yep.
Mr. California. And it was just a brutal cold snap that came through right when we were going to do the training. And it wasn't like we could change the dates, for that. And somehow, we made that work. And I think that contributed to the Sandlot because we didn't have a choice but to be, outside of the realm of what would be normal, because we had to figure it out. Like we were pre-wedding CEBs and they were icing over because the CEBs were so cold. Yeah. So we had to put them in the sun to warm up the face so we could actually even put them together. It was incredible that you guys even stayed. You
gotta do what you gotta do, It's just the way it goes.
But it was an amazing in the end. It was amazing training. It was an amazing opportunity. To have hosted it was just especially, and that goes back to that first training too, that 32 person training here in Albuquerque at our, second facility. And it was that kind of, camaraderie and, talking about it, or we came back for that. Scott Nelson was there. A lot of that was at the time when we were looking to expand distribution. So many of the people that came were actually distributors or managers and that kind of thing. So that was also unique and different. And it was an exciting time because as a new business, you're looking at the numbers just skyrocketing because it's easy to double from 32 to 64 to 128 and all of that, right?
Yeah.
There was a different time in the building industry where it was so strong that differentiating from something else was more important than a lot of times, what it might take to grow it, or, everyone was looking for something new and different. And that made it even that much better.
Yeah.
Up until 2008, 2012, wherever I know it's officially 2008, but there was a carryover through to 2010, 11 that kept things strong. We went from 6 people to 22 people, through those years, and then went from 22 people back down to 7, right? Which is where we are today still.
Yeah. Roller coaster ride. Financial and emotional, I'd imagine.
Definitely both.
Yeah. And it's funny too. I don't know what it's like for you, but like for me, and it's sad to say, but I think that most people listening probably be like, yep. How much my emotions are directly tied to the ledger bank account balance and like seeing what's happening. I'm like just sweating it. Can't sleep. Oh my God. It's like entrepreneurial journey's crazy. I got $100,000 in the account. I have $100 in the account. I have $10 in the account. I have $110,000 in the account, like all within a matter of like 5 days. I'm like, this is not healthy to be doing things like that. That's where the ride comes from me, for sure. Do you feel like your emotions get tied in, or are you good at separating them?
So at that time, separating, no. I definitely am not good at separating. I've gotten better. I've gotten less reactive, I think is the way to put it, because initially it was an everyday thing, an every week thing, like a comparison. Like you were just saying, 110, 10, minus 10, minus 50, back to 60,000, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
If you're watching it like that every single day, there is always an opportunity for reaction and fear and anxiety. What I found was, because you're looking at such a fluctuation, when you're looking at inventories, you're looking at receivables, you're looking at payables, you've got to spread that out. So now, if I'm too attached, it doesn't mean that I don't have the pace on what's going on. It's just that you can't be reactive over that transition from week to week. You've got to look at it. Okay, what was it last year? How are we doing this year? What do we need to change? And in that sense, the anxiety drops. It definitely helps. And that's just lessons learned. That was not the way it was at first. At first it was complete reaction. Fear, anxiety, stress, joy.
Gauntlet of emotions.
Back down to, oh my gosh, we're going to go bankrupt tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. So I think the biggest thing over these years is just knowing that you've got to look at the timeline differently. Granted, it definitely helps to have more of a timeline because you have something to reflect on. So to make it to that point is number one, it seems like a sprint, but it definitely was a marathon of patience, right? It was, through the years, I think I was talking to a member of my board one time, and things were finally starting to turn around, 2016, 2017. I relate it to, we were sailing along. We went to the rocks and we never realized that the boat sank. And the only thing above the water was the flag at the top of the mast.
Yeah.
But we were still bailing, and at least the boat is floating again, but we're still in the rocks. So we went from the storm to the reef to underwater, continued to bail, never gave up, and made it back afloat so that we could survive to make another day. That underwater period was brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal. it was very emotional. There were definitely days when it was time to quit and wanted to give up, but I still had commitments. I still had investors that I felt I couldn't let down, and I couldn't let myself down. And
Yeah.
my wife said, if you want to quit, go ahead, but I don't think it's done yet. I think you just need to take some breaths and keep going. So we did.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people say, entrepreneurs are crazy. Of course, we're crazy. Anyone in their right mind would not do this to themselves mentally.
I don't know. For some reason, I don't think I'm crazy.
Yeah. This is just, yeah. Yeah. I look at the mirror at myself. I'm like, oh, no, I'm a pretty normal guy. I feel pretty normal. But the outward world looks at it and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. But this feels good. I'm going to keep going.
So the ups and downs, the roller coaster, you said, the sunken ship, sailing onward. We never luckily turned into a ghost ship. We still got some wind in our masts, and I think what also was there is I didn't want to see an end to the opportunities of what clay can provide, what the plaster provides to not just us as the manufacturer, but for the applicators. That, I think that's where my attachment is, because I haven't been willing to let go of that and keep fighting. And that's where I think I'm crazy, because this tenacity will kill you sometimes. Knowing when to let go can be your savior, but I just never know when to let go.
And I think that the world is really happy that you haven't let go, because if people just start letting go and they start giving up on their dreams, we're all toast. So they need the Crofts in the world.
Well, you're right there too.
Yeah.
You've got your new ventures and moving forward. So
yeah, I'm trying, but yeah, I mean, I definitely,
it's like I said earlier, I thought everyone was just like us. And the truth is there's not very many people that are just like us, and we're just weird. Mm-hmm. We just have to be able to communicate in a way so somebody else can understand our weirdness and make something happen because of it.
I communicate in just silent emotions that I think the rest of the world can hear. Just sit there and stare at the wall. What, your materials in the healthy living. I mean, I'm aware of moisture ebbing and flowing throughout the wall, the, clay controlling, temperature and humidity,
right?
Kind of being cool in the summer, warm in the winter. But of all of those amazing tenets, ion neutralizing, all of those things about American clay, what's the one thing that you're the happiest about?
That is beautiful.
Me too.
That's if that wasn't the case, it wouldn't sell. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to, that it has those qualities, but people still want to, I don't want to say still want to put it up, because those qualities really are a plus. And I think if it didn't look as beautiful as it does and add something to the aesthetic, nobody cared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The view of it. I mean, it's amazing. I go into my in-laws' house, their entire house is American clay, and you walk in there and it's just unparalleled natural beauty.
Thank you. I mean, I will say I'm surprised they haven't switched over to a line yet, but yeah, I'm grateful that they haven't.
Yeah, well, they're just kind of I don't know, and I'm the same way. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Just this is beautiful. This is awesome. Let's just be. I mean, they love me. They don't love me that much. I promise you. They're not going to let me cover that up. There's no way.
Yeah, but I think really the icing on the cake are the health benefits that come from it. The aspect of using something more natural. It's always been, for me, introducing the natural world to your interior spaces such that you realize that that's where we're from. Like having people utilize those things that are of the earth, mm-hmm. and remind us that we are of the earth too. It's sort of, I always lay out some principles for myself when it comes to who I am, and it's always, So when I think of what would my personal vision be, it would be a world where people cooperate and take action to live with and around nature such that a sustainable balance is maintained for the benefits of all beings on this earth. I'm reading that because I write it down, because without that connection in just normal building, there's never an opportunity for a healthier building. First, we got to get people just willing to use something natural in their modern structures so that they can reconnect. And that's really where I've continued to look at how do I do that. And, throughout, it all ties to sort of, I have some core value tenets that I hold dear, and it's growth, creativity, mindfulness, and honor. And it's the creativity and mindfulness that really tie into my continued push within American Clay, because it's what moves things forward for me and hopefully will continue to move forward for the planet.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Beautifully said.
Thanks.
Yeah. If you had to look at we were talking about kind of the arc of the company, and we were talking about, the peaks and valleys and the strikes and the gutters. At where you are in your career right now and the point you are in the company and in your life, if you could rewind the tape and redo one thing, what do you think it would be? And you can't say not manufacturing.
Well, no, I don't. I wouldn't say that. I think what I would change. So if somebody's here today looking at the future, I think I would have continued to shoestring it longer, to have done more grassroots growth rather than a strong push for a large company.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I would change, because it was for such a long time, the gorilla in the room that was overwhelming, it created more stress
mm-hmm.
for the process. But at the same time, it's a bit of a conundrum, because without that, I don't know that we'd have the same kind of presence. As minimal as it still is, it would be different. And so I say that, but I don't know what that looks like, because that's not what we did. Where we are today is where we are today because of what we did in the past, and there's only going forward from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what it is. It's continuing to drive, because at the same time I say that, but it's also what had the company be where it is today by having those aspects
mm-hmm.
of investors, the push for, larger marketing, bigger marketing, get in front of more people, a push for inventory on people's shelves. It ultimately is what had you find out about us
mm-hmm.
also.
Yeah. Without that
I don't know that
push, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows what track your life might have taken. You might have come across something else that got you excited instead of plaster, which maybe may have been a healthier thing, but it isn't, right? It's where you are today. So it's always, there is a retrospective, but at the same time, it doesn't change the reality. And so to really harp on that isn't as healthy as what would I, given where I am today, what do I change going forward? That's really where I continue to be challenged, but at the same time, continue to say what's next, because without that, nothing's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always the big burning question, as we kind of wind down on these insanely educational conversations, that everybody just learns so much from each and every guest that we have on there. But what is next? You had 20 plus years of running this company and all the ups and the downs, and whack-a-mole, the mole is still up. Croft is still up, going, fighting. And I don't think anybody can hit you and knock you down. I really don't. I don't. I feel like you would have fallen over already. So what's next?
What's next is the same in the sense that I still feel the commitment to developing and looking at what it's going to take to have people embrace natural materials in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Having grown up in nature or experiencing, like, whether it's at the beach or whether it's in the mountains or whether it's in the desert, people always say Albuquerque is the desert, but it is, but it's still got so much life and so much beauty and so much to learn that I can't imagine not having the ability to experience that and still introducing people. So the future holds more of the same. I think what is changing is getting in front of people or getting out there in a way that has them still engaged in what's possible. And I think it's funny, even though I'll be 54 this year. Golly. So I'm 53, and it doesn't seem like I only have a few years left. It seems like I've got a lifetime still to go, and I still want to do more of the same. I think what's different is I've got to be more patient with myself. I've got to be more patient with what I'm capable of. And if I do that, I will continue to be just as impactful as I was when we started. Mm-hmm. And that's something that everyone can look at, as you get older, you want to recreate what you did in your youth. But the truth is you've got much more wisdom. You've got much more, a broader, a breadth of knowledge that you can take forward and utilize without having to pound the pavement quite the same. And give yourself the space. I think what I really love is I love traveling. I love visiting new spaces. I love meeting new people and seeing what they're up to. Without that connection, and that goes back to like connecting with nature, getting outside of the built world and experience it in front of us. That's, I don't know if I can say enough about that. It's just one of the things that I'm really passionate about. I don't necessarily get to do it as much as I used to because physically it's a little bit more challenging, but I still like getting out there. I still like going spaces.
And immersing yourself in it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, and I think it will, we did an episode last year with Andres Riedel from Bauwerk Color in Germany. He basically said exactly what you said. He's going to go another 20 years doing exactly what he did before. And he hit the 20-year mark, and he took a pause, and he reassessed, and he said, what's worked and what hasn't worked? And do we want to keep going? And his answer was yes. So it's another 20 years. So
excellent.
You're in good company with that guy because he is amazing. Such a nice guy. Such a nice guy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Beyond words, for, what you did, because without what you did, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. And then, thank you for coming on and talking to us. And you're a wealth of knowledge on and off the court. And I pulled lots of little gleams of wisdom, from you yet again. So thank you. And I know the listeners will as well.
Well, thanks for having me. And, I look forward to more chats in the future.
Yeah, one of those places you visit, you're going to come right up here and you can see our operation. The door's wide open anytime.
Absolutely. It's where it's funny because I think my mom's been up there. Shayla's been up there. There's so many places through the years as we grew, but I've never been up there. Like I've never made the journey to go up to see. Like when Refuge was there, I'd never made it. I talked to them on the phone. I talked to you on the phone. You came down and saw me, but in the near future, it'll be a winter trip because we'll have to hit the slopes.
We'll hit the slopes and we'll call our buddy Heath. How's that sound?
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. And Shaler, he's coming.
Oh, and Shaler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Talk soon. Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember to click in next week as we sit down for a chat with Connor McGurran of the United Kingdom. While many of his colleagues focus their renders on heritage restoration and preservation, Connor and his progressive team at CMG Finishes hang their plaster coats high amongst London's elite structures, focusing on Tadillac, clay plaster, micro cement, and polished plasters, putting their modern twist on a time-honored tradition. Make sure to put an ear into this conversation because we're going to chat tea formalities, as it's been a theme across the pond this season. Until next time, cheers!